So, for this vlogmas, I decided to do something a bit unique that I've never tried on my channel before, and I just had a whim to try this out and share it with you all. In between that, I've mainly just been getting ready to move, and I've been finishing up for finals. And I do have another vlog coming up where I'll mainly just be doing one of those types of videos where you have someone cleaning or studying and it's got relaxing music. So that will be coming up soon. But for right now, here is the video. So I'm being a little vulnerable with myself right now. But I do want to make something perfectly clear. I am a very strong believer in the psychology and symbolism of the esoteric, the mystical, the occult. Symbolism is basically a way to package down very difficult concepts in a way that the human mind can process in ways that you couldn't just by reading the information. And so I wouldn't say I'm a magical thinker, but I am open to reasonable possibilities. The only reason I'm pulling this is because I felt the need to, maybe because there is an inner question that I haven't learned how to interpret into words yet. And it's coming through symbols, like in this reading. And so I decided to pull it, and I want to go over what it means. So the first one is the Hanged Man. And by the way, this is overall like a universal pull. I'm not doing it for myself or anyone specific. It's a universal pull about events going on in the world, and it's kind of like a collective thing. So what I'm seeing right now is the Hanged Man is upside down, and I won't say exactly what that means on a specific level, except that I feel like those which were underground and oppressed, I feel like it flipped, and the power balance is now where it should be, and they're on top, and it's being recognized that they're on top now, and they're expressing their power, kind of like the Maori people during that meeting with New Zealand Parliament. And then the Hierophant. This, by the way, is a blind read. I didn't look at the book this time. I didn't try to check what it meant in other interpretations. I'm doing this as a blind, instinctive read from my own psyche and my observations connected to these symbols. This is the Hierophant. I think I'm saying that right. And to me, what this is reading is ancestral tradition, especially amongst historically oppressed peoples, communities, and their descendants, being shown to the world with the light of heaven and universal truth blessing them. And here are their ancestors from behind them, and this is their descendants as a community. I can't quite make out what this writing is. I think it could be, this deck is the David Bowie Starman Tarot deck, inspired by David Bowie. So maybe it's a copy of his handwriting. And then this one is the Six of Wands. And to me, wands represent, systems of belief. Some people think of magic when they think of wands. or even rulers with their different wands. And to me, wands in terms of rulership are still connected to systems of belief, like the pharaoh and the wasp staff. It's all a way to indicate and mark their power, while also connecting it to systems of religious belief. And to me, this is representative of how we normalized certain systems of belief dominantly across the world for a while, and it's being flipped. And the power balance to me is going back to nature, and the hidden, so-called hidden systems of belief that we had to protect are being normalized and freed from persecution. This is the scared clown, which I believe is the Joker in other decks, in the normal decks. And to me, the Joker would always represent the unexpected factor, something that shakes things up. And I had immediately thought of the Joker when a month ago, I'll just say, crazy things happened. And it started causing chaos and panic everywhere. And I thought about the Joker from, The Dark Knight, and the way he operates and what effect he has on communities. And now it's flipped upside down, which to me tells me that that part is shifting, and true positions of real, actual, true power are being presented. Not control, not abuse, but true, loving power. So I'm going to pull one more for good measure, just for fun, because I feel like I need to. And I see the Queen of Wands, which I felt the need to put at the top before I saw it, which is interesting, because there's a lot about women and they're changing awareness, or it's not even changing awareness, but they're dormant but awakening awareness of what we could be as a world. And she's being placed at the top. And there's a sunflower above her head, which is, to me, blooming truth, and not just potential, but just increasing development and evolution of identity, because the sun and sunflowers to me represent identity, and following the true path, because sunflowers follow the sun. There you go. I hope you have a nice day, night, whatever time it is for you. One more thing before I completely lay down for the night. I pulled some oracle cards. I don't have a complete deck, but I pulled them anyway because I just felt the need to. And so I have this deck of Celtic oracle cards, and they have different plants, because from what I understand, the Celts were very much about symbolism and plants and spiritual significance of plants in a pretty complex way. And I actually wish to study them more, because I think they're in our ancestry. But holly off to the right of the Chariot, and ash. Now, from what I understand, the great tree of Yggdrasil, which I hope I'm saying that right, I haven't checked yet, which is the tree of life in Celtic and Nordic lore, is recorded to be either a yew tree, which is growing in my yard, or an ash tree. And the tree of life is a tree that spans both the dark and the light. It's a whole and complete living being, universally tying all things together. And it's off to the left where I felt the need to put it. I don't know why I put it there until I put it down, and I gave it a second, and then I went, oh, alongside the Queen of Wands. I don't know anything about these types of plants except for the reed. I don't know, I think of Moses and being pulled from the reeds as a baby. So maybe coming into your own as a leader in a true position of power from being oppressed, maybe. That's the first thought that comes to my mind. And I'm not specifically loyal to any one religion. I just observe the patterns and cycles recorded in each sacred text the best I can. I'm not a major scholar. I'm just an enthusiast. So, I don't know, there's something about the rowan off to the left here. But I don't know if I have to maybe look it up some more. But at the moment, that's the full culmination of what I pulled and the symbolism and what it is reading out to me. And the left-hand path is basically all about breaking taboos, breaking rules, and people call that scary in some circles, but in this case, it's necessary. And then, it means that the world has to basically be flipped over and to go down that path, to consider new conceptions of where we could be and what kind of progress we can make. In the best way that's good for everyone and right and true to everyone. And then Rowan. So my phone is relentlessly stopping the video because my storage is full. And it's not even that much. There isn't even that much video. But what I wanted to say before I got so rudely interrupted by my data is that this card right here, this oracle card that I chose to pull, to see what symbolism it had for me, was basically, it was just describing how the rowan tree is a protection tree, especially in the realm of the spirit. And even the berries are shaped like pentagrams. And then there's advice in here saying, if you are in danger of enchantment, being swayed or mesmerized by harmful or vindictive powers, you need your wits about you. Choosing this card will help you retain control of all your senses so that you can distinguish bad from good, harm from help, using your spiritual strength to turn away anything that threatens your serenity and purpose. You must realize it talks about if the cards are reversed, but it's not. So basically, it's just saying that, there's a lot of confusion and illusion. From what I'm seeing, this is about confusion and illusion on the left-hand path. And I wish I could show you, but I'm on my laptop right now, and getting it positioned to see is challenging. But here's the Queen of Wands. And then on the left-hand side is the rowan tree, which is protection, spiritual protection in particular. Or a simpler way to put it is protection in the realm of the yet unknown. And so it's almost like an encouragement that what is hidden and you come to know is not something to be afraid of. And then on the right hand side is the reed. And like I mentioned before, I thought immediately the last time I heard reeds mentioned was in, the biblical story of Moses being pulled up from the reeds as a baby and then being raised in a position of power where his oppressors were holding power. And so the oppressed gets into the hierarchy. And that we have seen a lot of, and we've seen that especially recently, and people really standing their ground and saying we're not going to be treated the way our ancestors were. And then the last one I see here is the holly. And it's on the right-hand side of the chariot card, which is, I felt compelled to put directly in the middle. It's interesting. I don't want to say it's necessarily intuition, but just some sort of deeper non-verbal sense to put things in a certain arrangement in this reading of cards that I'm doing. So before I say anything else, I just want to say, hey, this is Editing Xenia here. And that is a wonderful thing to say because I know all my favorite YouTubers say it, and it makes me feel like I'm a bit closer to being a real YouTuber. So in the prior clip, I caught on that my lav mic that I just got decided to just cut out and drop the connection, and I couldn't get it to work again. So I may have to look into better lav mic sets that work with my equipment. But basically all I was trying to explain before I got cut off was how the rowan tree, or not the rowan tree, but the holly tree, in the interpretations that I read, they discuss how the rowan or the holly is historically connected to the crown of thorns in Christianity and used as weapons. There's been, I think, history around Celtic peoples fashioning hollies into weapons, and in other lore it's used for spears. And so there was mention in the book of balance and hitting your target directly with the holly spear. And to me, that signifies a direct path and attaining your goal. Almost like, how the crown of thorns represented prior oppression and suffering and, trauma, and taking what resources you do have and redirecting it and attaining your goal. And I feel like that's a collective thing that people are beginning to understand. And I feel like another part to all of this, and the fact that I'm using tarot to explain this, is really that it's a way to sort of exercise the imagination. And everyone talks about, the imagination, like it's not something to be taken seriously. But if I may reference some New Thought authors that I've read, more than a few of them have said that imagination is what has created everything. Everything that you see, especially when humans have designed it, was first created in imagination. and then acted upon. And every great thing that's ever happened in history was something that was imagined and committed to first. And then people stood their ground and pushed for progress even when there was opposition. And it could not be imagined because it wasn't, normalized yet. And there was a lot of interest in keeping people, controlled. So those who imagined that we could be more free and make progress, those people had to enact their imaginations and stand their ground on it. And so for me, symbolism helps with that because it kind of helps you process everything and use your real imagination and use your natural gifts. And your reasoning and your logic, and it helps unify all of those skills together, your critical thinking. It helps unify all those skills together and stay loyal to what is actually possible for you. And many, many things are possible. And we have to be willing to stand up for them. And so collectively speaking, the ultimate thing that I'm seeing in, and what my imagination and my thought is rendering here, my psyche is reading, is that we need to have faith in that process and in our creativity and in our willingness to stand our ground on the things we know are true, just, and right, and based around peace and harmony and all good things. Balance. So for now, I'll leave you with that thought and see you in the next one, which I will be posting really soon. So I love you all, and thank you for sharing in this little vlogmas journey with me, and welcome to any and all new subscribers and current ones and the ones that have been with me from the beginning. Okay. Good night.